Okay, and we're live. This is our discussion on advertising for TROM discussions. Okay, sorry, what were you saying?
Okay, so I wanted to point out that advertising today it's extremely important because of the internet. Um, in, in the past, advertising was mostly on TV or newspapers, but today it's extremely invasive because if you look at the data collection, and I think most people are familiar with data connection today. Like you visit Facebook, they collect a lot of data about you. YouTube, pretty much any website, and most of this data collection it's because of advertising, because they want to serve you better ads, better in their own terms, like they want you to buy stuff or to click on stuff. And this has given rise to a huge amount of problems. Like, for example, um, YouTube videos are worse and worse in the sense that you don't even know when one is advertising, one is not. Websites collect so much data about you that they can influence your views on the world and politics and what you should buy. And overall, I think it's one of the most interesting and important subjects to talk about. And I think you have you made like spreadsheet with some topics that we can discuss, Sasha.
Yeah, I mean, I just made some general questions. So the first one started off with, if you guys feel like you're affected by advertisement, you're how affected do you feel by advertisement today?
And I think most people don't even realize how much of what they consume on the internet and even on TV it's advertising. And in the current book that I'm writing for TROM, I'm discussing the several ways that people collect data for advertising, and it's just it's hard to wrap your mind around it because it's from even when you connect to Wi-Fi or open Wi-Fi, um, like you go into a city and connect to a Wi-Fi, they collect a lot of data about you and they sell to advertising companies. They have this data brokers. Their sole business is to collect data about you. They collect it from Facebook, they collect it from YouTube, from Google, from your searches, from your phone companies, and they sell it to other advertisers so that they can target ads to you. So it's a huge business. It's a huge trade. It's a trade of data between companies and governments. And yeah, for example, okay, I'm going to stop here because I want other people to talk about, and we can move forward with this. But I want to hear what other people think about advertising and how it affects their lives and what do they think about it. For example, are you people using ad blockers, or are you're not bothered by advertising and stuff like that? Is this something that bothers you or influences you?
Oh,
Well,
hey.
not really very much. I don't really have a TV, but I don't really use ad blockers and stuff either. I know that they collect data on things when you purchase stuff on the internet and stuff like that, but I don't know to what extent. I've never really thought about it until sort of people start talking about it, and then you can think about it too much sometimes. So I just sort of block it out myself.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll be with you guys, but I won't be talking for maybe like 20 more minutes because I'm working, but I'm listening. In general, I don't mind it when they collecting data. Let's say they can't take my data. It's okay. It's not a problem, and it is useful sometimes, because they know who you are. They analyze your data and they will show you what you should see, what you want to see. So, so that's maybe a good way. But I use ad blocker, by the way, for YouTube. Yeah,
The
that's that's
problem
that's
that I
that's
say
useful stuff.
is that I was thinking the same. Like, why should I care? They collect a lot of data. They show me stuff that I want to know. But if you understand that these companies, they mainly care about you being a consumer. And I know so many people who are spending even their last money on stuff because they see on Facebook, all they want from advertising is for you to consume because that's their business. 90% of revenue from Google and Facebook is from advertising. So they are advertising companies masked as social networks or YouTube. They say they are video platform, but in fact they are advertising companies. And there are so many problems with this. I know that it sounds like, so what, they collect data about me, but many things are changing. And I want to give you an example. For instance, on YouTube, there are many people who are exploiting children for views. And maybe some of you have children, and they create special content for children because children watch a lot of content and they spend a lot of time watching content. So they have hundreds and millions of views for every video, and they serve advertising to this video, to such videos. So in my book, I give an example. It's one channel on YouTube called Toy Freaks. They are the 68th most viewed channel in 2017, and they had 7.3 billion views on YouTube on their videos. From 2012 to 2017, they made around $7 million from advertising to children. And YouTube had to close the account because it was like crazy. They did all kinds of freaky stuff. And I know children who watch YouTube for hours and hours, and they watch all kinds of crap. And one last example, because YouTube wants you to consume ads, your kid is going to watch a video, and then YouTube has a feature to play the next video because they want you to stay on their website, and they are going to serve you more and more videos to keep you engaged, to serve you ads. So they serve you bad quality videos and collect data about you. So I don't see how. So you see where the problem is. It's a lot more than just collecting data about people and serving better things to you.
But before you leave, because you said you have some, like a few times before you leave, you should give us some practical advice, you know, to have a just, because you can't stop using YouTube, you can't just stop using Facebook or Google. So what to do? I have a child, for example.
Yes.
But we have control on tablet, on electronics, like 10 minutes per day only, 10 minutes after each meal. So, but what to do? I mean, in this situation, since you're writing a book, so I think you have more information.
Sure. We even made for TROM, we have a TROM curated videos. They are educational videos, so we curate videos that are not, they don't go into this craziness of serving advertising and serving bad quality videos. But it's very hard to deal with this. Even YouTube, they made YouTube Kids, maybe you are familiar with that, to serve videos for children. But even that is exploited, because in today's world, people are motivated to exploit that. I know people who are doing such things for advertising. So yeah, I created that tool for TROM, like TROM created videos. I can give you a link. Yeah, you can give it to your kid, and you can watch lots of, like, hundreds of YouTube channels that are educational. But it's a battle. It's a constant battle. I don't think we can, neither us can win or them can be extremely efficient. But that's my advice for now.
Yeah, and maybe expose your kid to kind of a wide range of things that he might be interested in, you know. I see this with my little sisters. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old little sister in Moscow. And I don't know, I remember my dad freaking out at, you know, the fact that they're watching like some ridiculous crap on Instagram. And I was like, well, what is it? What is it? He's like, I can't even describe it, you know. And he showed me what it was, and I had no idea either. It was like, you know, a guy screaming, and then some picture of nothing, and more noise, and just random crap, you know. And the danger with what Tio is saying, I think, is, you know, kids want to watch stupid crap. They're interested in it, and then YouTube will feed them more and more stupid crap, because that's what they're interested in. That's what holds their attention. and then that kind of ends up dumbing down society in general, dumbing down these kids, you know. And
they're a lot of different things, and it's not all good half the time.
Yeah, and it's not only YouTube. Uh, Google, for example, was fined by the European Commission like 2 billion euros because they pushed their products first. So in the search results, and Google is the most used search engine. So you see, they are not doing such things for your benefit. They are doing such things for their benefit. I mean, this is clear, and they were fined many times by doing so.
yeah.
And Facebook is the same. They get very sneaky because you don't even know what is an advertising or not. Today we have this thing called um, I forgot the name, but it's influential marketing, something like that. When they search for influential people and they say we have a product. Can you wear our product or talk about our product? And you don't even know that they are advertising the product, and what they say is not true, but it's like I'm watching YouTube and I see reviews for phones or laptops or technology, but are those reviews or are they paid promotions? So it's a very muddy place, and you don't know how to properly navigate because no ad blocker is going to block those videos or such content. They are getting very, very good at advertising, which is scary.
Yeah, I watched that documentary that you sent about the influencer marketers.
Yes.
I think another problem with that is so basically we're talking about like YouTubers and bloggers. The other problem that I noticed was that normal people regard these bloggers as as more on their own level rather than on celebrities, so that they have a lot more trust in them. So because these people have trust in these bloggers, they're more likely to listen to this or just to see that this blogger is liking some product or using some product or whatever, and they don't the normal person doesn't see that it's a commercial, if it's a commercial or not, or if this blogger is actually talking about a good product, not being paid for it, but actually talking about what the product actually is. So people are being tricked. I guess you can call it tricked in a way.
If I may add piece of information, well, I don't have any children, so I know that this problem is a lot more complicated than it seems. There is no easy solution for this because the variety and diversity of advertisement and how is it hiding in YouTube videos or everything is very subtle, so it's not that easy to recognize the problems of it. Well, just as a small advice, as if I imagine if I were a parent or something like that, I would try to see by myself what is the things or the videos or the content my kids are seeing. I mean, that is a really good way to start looking at what is what's the danger or
The thing is that most of the time,
bad content. I mean, there is also a responsibility of the father to know what their kids are seeing.
and most of the time, even parents, cannot understand. I know many examples where parents just let their children play games, for example. That's another thing on phones, and they are bombarded by advertising. And children don't know what an ad is or what is a game because they look pretty much the same, and they click on all kinds of stuff. But even the parents, I know so many parents that they are tricked. They don't know. They don't understand, for example, how much data advertisers collect about them, and they don't know how to. And another thing, it's extremely hard to manage this on a phone. On a browser, on a laptop, it's easier, but on a phone, the phone is more locked, and it's harder to block ads and trackers because there is another interesting thing. When you access the internet, I don't know how many people know this, or they think about this. When you access the internet, you access it through a browser. And that browser is your window to the internet. That's what renders web pages. On a phone, it's not the same. You access it mostly from an app. And the browser, you have control. That's why you can block advertising. An app is not like that. An app, it's controlled by the company most of the time. So they are encrypted, and that's why you cannot block ads on YouTube app on a phone, but you can block it on a browser. And they are going to do the same with the browser. I've seen they made a law to make a browser, make it like, imagine you access YouTube, but YouTube doesn't let you access it to Chrome or Firefox, only through their browser. That's the future that they are trying to push, which is very scary because you don't have control over the content.
But I think it's also important to look at the consumer, right? Because ultimately, all of this stuff only works because people make the decision to buy something, to spend the money. So when it comes to kids, I think it's a great opportunity for parents to develop in their kids some kind of critical thinking and awareness. So like to talk to them more and more often about what they're seeing, you know, if they're asking to buy toys or asking to get things in the shop, to talk to them about that and ask them why they want it, and, you know, develop this critical thinking. And with adults, same thing, but adults have to do it themselves to ask themselves, like, do I really need this? Or like, usually for me, it's important to split advertising into convenient, like useful advertising, and stuff that we don't need. So for example, if I need to buy like a vacuum cleaner, for example, I don't know where to get it. Let's say if I'm in a new city, so I'll rely on Google probably, or some advertising. So then maybe it would be useful for me, advertising, because I need this. But if I'm sitting there and suddenly something pops up and I see, oh, hey, I can buy a jacket on sale, and you know, usually this is the problem, because people don't really need it, but then they start to think, oh, that sounds good. They kind of fall for it.
Yeah, but even with the vacuum cleaner, you know, you see an ad for the vacuum cleaner, and you don't really know if that's really your best, you know, option, your best vacuum cleaner, your best deal for a vacuum cleaner, or what. That's just the one that, you know, paid for the advertisement.
Yeah, and products usually come with like specifications. You can see what a phone has, what specs has. Advertising is to like blow up those things and make you buy them, because think about medicine. Most countries don't allow advertising for medicine, so you don't have to like search on Google. You can go to a doctor and they can tell you what's the best treatment. The same is true for any gadget. They have like specifications, how many RAM memory, how the CPU, the vacuum cleaner, it's whatever. No, it's they already have such information. So advertising is mostly to make you buy that product. But I understand that some people can find, you know, useful information, but they have to be cautious, because, you know, I have friends who work in they're doing SEO for websites. They basically they ruin the internet. They buy articles from Chinese companies, for example, and they put them online. And when you read like an article about a product, it's mainly only for advertising. It has nothing to do with the product, and they have thousands and thousands of websites, and they are spread all around the world, and that's their business. It is a huge business. If you know a little bit about it, then you won't trust most websites, because you don't know if this is an article, a proper article, or it's an advertising.
What is it? What's called CO? What is
SEO? It's website optimizing, but it's like you pay lots of people to you have a website and you come to me and I'm going to spread the message about your website, but I'm going to lie a lot because I want to trick Google into having a website in the first search results. And I was doing that as well at one point.
And I think it's called search engine optimization.
Exactly. But they do more than just search engine optimization.
You guys probably already know this, but instead of Google as a alternative search engine, there's DuckDuckGo.
I use that.
Yeah, I use that too.
Because they don't track you.
What's the name?
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. All right.
But they too are are relying on advertising, but they just don't track you. So the first results sometimes are advertising, but it's hard to escape this, because if you want to stay in business, just think about it. Because I had many websites, and I'm doing websites for like 10 years now, 10, 12 years. How can you make money out of websites? The main way is advertising. So everybody's doing this. It's just there are not many ways to make money. If you want to stay relevant in the business, to say so, you have to just rely on advertising. And the biggest advertising company is Google with its DoubleClick or AdWords. Most companies are using this. So through Google, they serve you ads on their websites, and Google takes a share. And so Google has a lot of power. It's huge.
Kind of scary in a way, yeah. Because when I look for flights and stuff like that, or when you look for any product really, you see ads that come up. All the ads that in your advertising thing, they all relate to what you've just looked up or things like
Yeah,
that. I don't know probably a third of what you know about it. I don't know a quarter of it. So all I know is DuckDuckGo don't track you. Pretty much it.
All right, that's cool.
Yes, because companies sometimes you search something on Google and you go on Amazon and you can see related products from what you search, because they have these data brokers. They collect data from many companies. It's a legal thing, and they sell it to from Amazon to Facebook and so forth. So that's why they are connected. It's a huge web. It's huge. And just think about Google. Google owns the most used operating system, Android, the most used email client, Gmail, the most used browser, Chrome. They own the most used search engine, the most used almost anything, like any app, and they have again 90% of their revenues from advertising. So they are advertising company. What do they think they do? They are doing, that's what they do. That's what.
Yeah.
So you don't like Google?
Google doesn't like me either. They closed me some accounts for all kinds of reasons. So I hate them a lot.
But we are using Hangouts, and this is for
That's my
free, I
fault.
think.
No. This is a great thing that you bring up. The free thing. This is the biggest scam in the world. I mean, people say YouTube is free, Facebook is free. No, they are not free. They are free in terms of money, not in terms of trade. You trade a lot of them with them. You trade your data, you trade your attention, you trade your privacy. This is not free. They like to advertise it as free, but they are not free. If they made a study, if Facebook didn't put advertising, they would charge you like $10 a month to keep in business for all of their users. So it is not free. It's not free at all. Hangouts is not free at all. They collect data. Just recently, from the article, they collect a lot of data. I downloaded my Google data. You can do that too. And I have my Hangouts messages from like 10 years ago or like 6 years ago, I know. And all of the files I sent, and they collect all of this data and they sell to advertising or they make products based on those. So they are not free. Even Hangouts is not free.
But the question is the important one. If you have this practical way of thinking, and like before you buy a jacket, before you buy a vacuum machine, you really think like, do I really need it or not? Which is also in connection to our last discussion when we were talking about like stuff. Do you really need stuff? Do you really not need stuff? Think like 2 or 3 times before you buy anything. So if you know all of this stuff, can't you use these tools, let's say? And also if you teach your kids how to use them in the right way. Because again,
sure,
they are all around us, and we can't, now it's hard to live without electronics, let's say.
Yes, but there are alternatives. And in the book I'm writing, I'm going to showcase lots of alternatives, like the open source stuff. I only use open source stuff that they don't track you. And there are lots of alternatives, from search engines to operating systems to,
Well, what about YouTube? Since I use YouTube, I think the most. YouTube and torrents.
Yeah,
Legal
torrents. Yeah, torrents. It's different technology, but it's very hard when it comes to video streaming because you have to have powerful servers all around the world. So Google is owning that niche. So this is, yeah, this is, there are some solutions, but since YouTube is based on popularity, no one is going to use those solutions. They are peer-to-peer, like torrents technology that is for video streaming. There are websites like that. When no one owns the video, you can upload it and it's on different computers, like torrents is, and you are streaming the video to your computer. So there are alternatives. I'm going to talk about those.
I think the discussions got off the rails a long time ago. But
No,
well,
because
this thing is
because
very important. But
because this is still about advertising. Since these companies are so big, they rely only on advertising, and it's very difficult to escape them. You know, from Google to Facebook is extremely difficult. So the question is, what can we do to try to escape them? And I think my answer is we cannot do much. We can do some stuff, but you cannot escape.
You can start
It's just
traveling. That
you're
helps
right,
you.
but still get off the race because the first question we should be asking is it advertisement a problem or not? Is it good or evil or whatever? The thing is, if you see it that way, the first obvious question can be answered because advertisement itself is just a tool, like everything, like science or politics or whatever, depending on how we use it, it can become for bad purpose or good purpose. Now, the concern for me is like dividing the consumer between a rational consumer and an irrational consumer, and that is the hard thing. We were talking about kids selling all these stupid things to kids. You can say that kids are not developed enough to recognize the problems or the dangers of advertisement, so they are, in my case, irrational consumers. A rational consumer, in my example, will be someone who is aware of these problems. I will try to find solutions, just like you provided solutions to escape, or at least try to escape the advertised problem. But the first point of this discussion would be like how much advertisement is a problem. And I know that is a problem. I mean, you kind of bring the topic about using the advertisement for politics. That is a huge deal because if you know how to influence people to do whatever you want, that is really a problem in modern society. But again, that is
You
not
mean you mean with
advertisement.
politics? You mean like the current elections, like USA elections and European elections? You mean like
Yep,
how they use?
we had the same problem. To be honest, the current president won because they use an special kind of advertisement. It's kind of the same model, by the way. But again,
Where?
hmm?
Which
Chile,
country? Ah, in
Chile.
Chile.
Yeah, there were
Uh-huh.
elections last year, and won the guy who paid for some specific tool for advertisement. But again, the first part of the discussion should be how much advertisement is a problem or not. We probably kind of agree that it's a problem, but
and I think
that,
my point is that it's a very slippery slope. So
hmm?
it's a very slippery slope. Like if you go on this path of advertising, you cannot say I'm just going a little bit to advertise. You are going all the way through, and you are going to mess things up like Google does. That's why I'm providing those examples because they are so big. I don't think anyone can advertise maybe they can in a sincere way, but is this path of profit that is going to push them to exaggerate their claims and their products, and eventually is going to create a lot of shitty like problems like data collection and so forth.
But again,
So
they are doing it because they know what to exploit and how to exploit. How to exploit, they're using our psychological bias towards certain things. For example, I can't remember what was the video in which they explained that they were studying teens and they were studying what trends teens like it, and they were selling that that thing. yeah, obviously in that case it's a terrible situation because they are basically selling you something and then they are getting feedback from them to sell the same thing in a terrible sale. Yeah, totally agree.
And is there a way to escape this? Because I feel like there isn't. There are some solutions, but for personal use. But in general, if everyone in the world would use ad blocker and Google will not be able to make money from advertising, Google will find a way to sneak through this and still inject advertising
There
into
is
your browser or app.
one of the videos in which there was a comedian trying to critique the people who were working in advertisement. I think it
Yeah,
was
Bill
in the
Hicks. It's Bill
Bill
Hicks.
Hicks,
hmm?
Bill Hicks. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing because every time he tried to criticize, he was appealing for some certain market, and they were telling, "Oh, good one, you appeal this market very well." For example, the uh, anger market or the what the other ones.
Angry or yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think like isn't ultimately the best ad blocker is when you block your wallet. You know, like you just say you can watch as many ads as you want, but if you
You know why
rationally decide
I
not
don't
to
think
spend the money, yeah.
I don't think it's only about money because it's also about influencing you, like we talked before. It's influencing you. It's, for example, take people who believe that Earth is flat. They go on YouTube and they are going to get reinforced with this idea that Earth is flat because YouTube only serves them what makes them stay on their website. So it's about influencing people's opinion. It's spending time watching crap is not only about how you spend the money. So I think it's a much bigger issue.
No,
Okay,
Yeah,
well then,
and
yeah, go on.
I feel like I also see it as a really horrible cultural issue in the States, for example. If you go to like ghetto communities, black communities, you can really see the influence of media and, well, this culture around them. I mean, I don't want to sound like a racist or something, but for example, I went to last time I was in New York. I went to see my friend who's a musician, and he was playing in the same venue where there was like a rap concert right next door. So I went over there as well, and I took a look at it, and it was, I mean, it was like mind-boggling the shit that they were rapping. You know, it was really like money, sex, bitches, like literally just that, and there was nothing to any of this at all. And it was like, and you can see all around. It's as if the media is, well, it's as if they're intentionally being dumbed down. Like an entire culture is intentionally being dumbed down. You know, and I feel like that is happening intentionally. That is a problem. And not just with black communities. I mean, you know, what we were talking about with the flat earthers, you know, same goes for children. Like I was saying, my little sisters, they'll watch some dumb video, and then YouTube will feed them more dumb videos, more and more dumb videos. And this is what they look for. They don't want to watch anything interesting, anything relevant, you know, anything that actually has anything to do with reality. You know, they just want to watch crazy, I don't know, exaggerated videos of people screaming or whatever, you know. And then at the same time, these bloggers that have so much influence on kids, and I'm talking about kids ages like 10 to 14, you know, right when they're absorbing so much, when they're learning, you know, when they should be, you know, learning about science, learning about the world, you know, experiencing things. They're just dumbed down in these machines, and their parents are too tired working all day just to, you know, be able to provide for their living and whatever. They're too tired, so they just let them play with this phone, you know. And you know, Hassan was asking, how do you control it? It's hard to control, you know. My dad only spends one day a week with his little kids, and he can't even control getting this phone away from them because they're so consumed in it, you know. And it's hard to control them. They'll scream. I don't know. It's a difficult situation, and you know, and at the same time, I see it
my
get
son,
worse and worse. Yeah.
My son cries. My son goes crazy when the timer beeps, but it's okay. He gets used to it. Like we told him, all right. So you obviously you have a strong addiction towards YouTube and electronics. So because you have a strong addiction, we should fight this addiction. So we will take them completely away for 1 week until you get better with your addiction. And then he says, okay, I will not cry anymore. I will not fight anymore. Like when the time is over, he will be okay. And that's how we're doing it now. It's hard with the kids. It's hard. Obviously, for lots of the topics, it is big parts of it for the parents,
Yeah, it's
Like
not only online.
you should
You
educate
get
yourself.
advertising. Yeah.
Yeah, you should educate yourself. You should know what's right, what's wrong, like what fits you, what does not fit you.
But this
But at the same time, to what end? You're gonna go against all of this. Let's say you're gonna go against the wave, because now everything is going like towards social media, like electronics, being up to date, and we're gonna fight it and not be up to date and not follow all this like crazy, stupid YouTube channels because we are smarter, and then you're gonna end up alone. Your kids gonna look weird at school and they won't be cool. Let's say they won't have the cool friends. They won't be invited to the cool parties because they are smarter.
Yes,
Which is
and this is the problem, right? It's we
yeah.
recognize the problem. Maybe we don't have a solution, but we recognize the problem. So the problem is still there,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean,
That's the thing.
and the good question is what is the future? This is I don't think there's only like 7 people in the world that notice this problem. Of course, there are millions of people who doesn't like what they see on the TV. I remember my father and mother used to say, "Oh, this is like a stupid crap. What is this on TV?" This is before the internet, let's say in Syria. And I think there will be a change, of course, in the future. All people will go different directions. But what will be the future? Now, this is what's happening with Google and Facebook and Netflix, let's say. Of course, it's not going to last forever. Like all companies have a cycle and they will go up and down. So what's going to come after that will be even worse or...
Yeah, the same companies are going to take them. So I don't see. That's why this discussion is incubated into a bigger idea, like the TROM idea or the Venus project and so forth. So what we are trying to point is that in the long run, there aren't many solutions to this or any solution to this because our society is structured in a way that you have to make profits. So that's the basic of what it is. And companies are going to make profits. So you cannot just stop them. I use, for example, Ubuntu Linux on my computer because it's free and open source, right?
Me too, yeah.
But they introduced like a few years ago Amazon search in their search operating system because they take some money from that, and it was a big controversy. So even those who say we are going to do great stuff and don't push advertising, eventually they are going to adopt such tactics because you cannot survive. You just can't, and that's why.
And there's lots of money. There's lots of money in it.
Yes, exactly. It's a huge the data trading. I'm curating news for the past 5-6 years, and I've seen how news are going from bad to worse because of advertising. Because the only thing people want you is to click a link to see an ad. So journalism it's just raped by advertising badly. And it's very hard to find good sources of information. So everything this is not exactly about advertising, but it's the influence of advertising on content, and it's extremely hard to escape because I see many organizations that write news, journalists, they struggle a lot to get financial get support because they don't put advertising. So they rely Wikipedia, for example. This is a perfect example. Wikipedia and Everypedia.
Donations,
there are 2 Wikipedias. One Wikipedia is based on donations, so they don't put advertising and the content is usually good. And Everypedia, it's a Wikipedia started in 2014, I think, is based on all kinds of ads and profit motives, and they are really worse. I mean, they put there any crap that is going to get more clicks. So you see ads and profit is going to ruin pretty much any media.
Yeah, and then that's scary when you're thinking about differentiating, what's actually the truth and what's not. I mean, that's difficult
Exactly.
anyway to find out, but yeah.
So how to make use of it? How to make use of this like a bad, evil system? Like you guys have a good idea. Besides exaggerating, like TROM and Venus projects have good intentions. Besides
What is it
exaggerating and
exaggerating?
yeah,
What is it
I don't
exaggerated?
like. Oh my God, everything is bad. The system is broken. We are dying. The Earth will
No,
stop
no.
like turning in 10 years. No, lots of videos which we get through the group and like the page, and like and Vimo. Most of them they have tons of some exaggerating. I won't say they have
They
very
have
useful
alternative
information.
solutions, right?
Hmm?
Like every video has alternative solutions, and in the end, the entire documentary is about solutions and everything that we write. For example, for TROM, we have like something we say, everything we say bad, we have to provide a solution. So everything
No,
we have.
that's that you're right, but it's not always possible, to give alternatives. But I'm saying, like my question about the current problem with advertising, how to make use of it. Let's say you have your own business, or like the system is like this. How can you make use of it? Let's say to promote your own ideas. Since you guys have good ideas, why don't you make use of this system and promote your own ideas? Since politicians
Because
making it.
because we are going, if we start to on this path, we are going to ruin the project and everything. Like I give you an example, Wikipedia and Everypedia. As long as you want advertising, you are going to ruin your product or whatever you do, your project. It's hard to avoid that because you rely on clickbait, you rely on poor content, and you move more towards profits. So this is the slippery slope I'm talking about. That's why I don't see any solution in the system. I don't see any solution in the long run. I can give you lots of solutions in the short term. Like I rarely see advertising, and I'm avoiding most trackers online. And I will teach people how to do that if they don't know. But I'm like 1% of the population. People like me. The rest, you cannot compete with Google or Facebook. They are too good at what they do.
And they will just buy you out, They like Google normally when they find a good company, they will just buy them. If they have good ideas and they have good team, they will pay them few millions, yeah. And I agree. Yeah, I agree with you about. Yeah, I agree with you about the idea that it's not only about the money. For example, like I'm careful how I spend my money because we are a family, and of course we don't have a limited amount of money. But the problem is not only with money. Yeah, they will influence your ideas, like the way you do things, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what is considered like a cool and trendy, and what is not. And for me, it is so crazy. Sometimes I look at advertisement, and the whole advertisement, let's say the whole ad is like just like a sexy girl, and I look at it sometimes like a 2-3 seconds. What is this ad about? I don't see the product, and then it is something that this sexy girl is carrying, like a phone or a yogurt or juice or Coca-Cola, which is like what is this? I mean, this stuff I don't understand. I like the girls; they look nice, but I don't understand what's the point of this. Oh, because of this girl, I'm gonna buy a Coca-Cola.
I tell you what the point is that you liked those girls. That was the point.
Yeah, like what Pablo was saying before, it's important to realize that some people react to ads rationally and some people react irrationally. And when the example you just gave, it's basically it stimulates some primal reactions in you, and you start to think, you start to connect this product with this feeling.
Like Coca-Cola means sexy, and eventually.
Yeah. And it's
like
it's an irrational reaction, and most advertising works because people have these irrational reactions. But if you actually stopped and thought about it rationally, that this sexy girl has absolutely nothing to do with this yogurt, and that if you eat the yogurt, you're not going to get the sexy girl, then
or the shampoo, yeah, exactly.
You can say, well, I don't need it, But a lot of people don't react rationally. I think that could be one of the solutions, is to try and
you have to point out
a culture of critical thinking to ads.
Yeah.
This is low-level advertising that we are talking about, because you can say that I'm irrational, I'm not going to buy this shit, but when you are going to read some articles that you think are news articles, when in fact they are paid promotions, it's extremely difficult to make up the difference.
What
The same way,
what do you mean? What do you mean like, by like article which is paid promotion? I understand the idea, but I don't see it. Like
it's a
for
huge
example,
business.
like
Okay.
I use Euronews for example or Al Jazeera to check news. So
Mhm.
how are they gonna do promotions if they are talking about war in
Yes,
Syria
yes.
or like Olympics or World Cup or something like that?
Yes, even the Olympics, it may be a paid article from the governmental party or something. But the most like crazy that I've seen is companies that are making drugs like medicine or all kinds of treatments. They pay big companies, even like could be Washington Post or New York Times, and to put their piece there to talk about their product. And maybe they're talking in a sincere way, but
Ah,
it's a paid promotion. And we have TROM News. I'm creating news for the past several years. I told you we have many sources there that are keeping an eye on all of such this crap, and it's a lot of it. I mean, it's impossible for me to explain, but if you follow TROM News, you will see like daily examples of such paid promotions that you don't understand, that you don't know that they are paid. It's very
so
tricky.
Trump News, it's on the site, it's on the Trump
Yes,
site.
yes, I can
All
give you a
right, all
link.
right. And one more thing about advertisement, which I talked with my wife about before, that now when you see ads, which sometimes it's good or for a bank or for a loan or something, they show you this happy family, they show you this happy youth and like a cool youth and stuff. And these things, oh my God, they just destroy people because you look and you understand. Or for example, I look and I understand, oh, to be happy, you have to look like this. You have to be at the beach with your sexy wife and your blonde child, and all of you should be wearing sunglasses, and like drinking, I don't know, cocktails and stuff, which is of course so hard to get if you wanna work and study and take care of your family, and not everyone can afford it. And these things also, they are everywhere and they are on gigantic billboards, all over the world and in every city now. And people just every morning, every evening, they see them. Okay, this is what is a happy family. This is what is a happy life. And of course, not everyone gets it, and eventually it will have like a very negative effect on you because you won't get it.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of like these side effects of the advertisement. Not even directly, more consumption, but what is it? How does it change the culture when, for example, in Indonesia or in India or Sri Lanka, every billboard, every commercial is of all of these white people, and they tell you that this is what beauty is, or
White
they
is
tell
good.
you that. Yeah, or they tell you that, or they trick you, into believing that, oh, you'll be this beautiful, happy family if you drink this yogurt or whatever. It's giving people this kind of false ideas that are, detrimental to their well-being. Really, I see so many shattered people, people that are, I know a few people that are really, really like screwed by this consumption. Some of my friends in Moscow, some in New York, mostly big cities. That because consumption and advertisements are such a big part of where they, of where they live, of who they are in this city. And it's, when I talk to these people one-on-one, I realize most of them are not happy. They're just, their lives are filled with trying to get more and more from products that never fill them up, that never give them any happiness. They don't even know what happiness is, actually. I had this conversation recently with somebody. I don't know. So they end up feeling emptiness because of this false delusion that they get from everything around them, telling them
And
they
now
need to
also
be something else.
this selfie stuff. I don't know if it's connected to advertisement or not, but now you have to take a selfie with everything and everywhere. I don't know. Maybe Theo can tell us if it's connected to advertisement, but also I don't understand that. Oh my God, why are people taking selfies? What do they want to promote? Now like you have to promote yourself everywhere
It,
and doing everything.
because we shifted our value system from what is valuable to what it has more likes, more views, because likes and views give you a lot more in return, like monetary advantage or other kinds of advantages. So today you can make a great video on YouTube and you have very few views and it's not considered too valuable. But if you have lots of views, in today's world, this is extremely valuable. You can make thousands of dollars. So I think this is an influence on people who want more likes, more shares, because they associate that with something, some like a value.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to what Tia you mentioned before, that basically that I think there is this kind of physiological level that we're not discussing, because when people react to things, they're drawn by something else, the next video, and it works physiologically. So we get a hit of dopamine when we get likes or when we watch a video that we enjoy or that's relevant to us. So I think a lot of this works on a physiological level. And what you said is the first step is to understand it. Like maybe some solutions might not be clear yet, but if we can understand how it works at the physiological level, then we can start to think about ways that we can deal with it. And one parallel that I would mention is drugs, like drug addiction. So if you think about advertising or like the effect of advertising as a drug, what do people do when they're addicted to drugs? They go on replacement therapy. They start taking, similar drugs, but that are less addictive. And then they can gradually wean off it, or they go cold turkey or whatever it is. But it's like trying to get an addict off the drug. So it could be similar approaches to deal with this culture of consumerism.
And what I will mention about that is that drug addiction is usually, it works when you change the environment of that human being, because there are many studies who show that yes, you can go cold turkey and you can give up drugs, but the environment that you are in makes you use drugs in the first place. So if you put the same human being in the same environment with stress, with no jobs and so forth, they are going to get into drugs as well. So to make this analogy with advertising, I think is the same here. We can run away from it and we can try to stop it. But if you don't change the environment, I don't think much is going to change, because more companies will going to adopt the same kinds of solutions. So in the long run, I think we should think about changing the environment.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree.
So now I feel I should get therapy, for for the advertisement effect on me and on people, because I really, now the more I think about it, like I would go out on the street and I would go to a supermarket, which also they have lots of science, how like how people act in the supermarkets and what they like and what they don't like, and how to make them buy more stuff in the supermarket. So how to avoid all these things, that will be hard. Therapy maybe is the solution now. Anti-promotion, anti-advertisement therapy. I don't know, maybe it exists already. Some people take therapy just to get rid of like promotional ideas. Yeah, that's hard.
For me, what I do, because I'm usually try to be as stingy as possible with my money, so you try to learn about the product that you want to buy. Like for me, mostly what I buy is just food, and I just go to the farmer's market and buy it from grandmas selling tomatoes, and mostly that, anything else that I need, I'll try to research it a little bit at least.
Even that grandma is going to lie if she, her business is going to be threatened by other competitors. So I think it's high level, low level, you're going to see, but I understand your point.
You can bargain with grandmas, but there's less chance that they're spraying their shit, at least with chemicals. But yeah, just think more about what you're buying. Think more about how advertisement is affecting you. Yeah, for me, I'm, just try to block it out, and, don't need that crap, I need that money for a plane ticket or train or something, food.
Yeah, and basically just look for, after what Tio said about this promotional content, when they write like when they write articles to promotion. So basically, it's just better to choose the content that you like. Dave, for example, he doesn't have a TV. Me neither. So that's also a good way to avoid this promotion. Just don't have it, like don't get a TV. Choose what you watch. Choose what you read. Choose what product you want to buy, and you will
But I mean, it's
be
not just
like
on
a
TV.
better off this. Yeah. My Tosha, my mother-in-law, for example, she has a TV and it's on all the time. Like if she's awake, the TV is on, even if she's in the kitchen. So for sure, that's a very bad example of how to be away from this effect. Because when the kids visit her or when we visit her, yeah, we watch TV with her, so we see lots of ads, we hear lots of news. We, of course, there's lots of extra content which we don't need, and we don't care about. But anyway, it's affecting us because it is in the background. Same like the sexy girl with Coca-Cola, or with the yogurt. Anyway, you're gonna connect them even if you don't agree with them. So basically, just choose the content you want and.
So
Yeah,
take your Tosha outside, like Theo said. Change your environment.
yeah, exactly. Like don't put promotions indoors.
Yeah.
Like don't hang posters from companies next to your PC, and you'll be fine. Yeah, but it's a crazy time,
They advertise alcohol and beer on huge billboards on highways, and then they wonder why are people drunk and getting into accidents. But how can you do that? I mean, it's just
But
crazy.
where is that? Where is that with alcohol? I thought it's in
It
US
is, yeah.
or
In the US it is, yes. Jennifer even wrote a book about this. And it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's only cigarettes. It's only illegal to advertise cigarettes, but alcohol is okay.
yes, I think so, yeah. Of course, and everywhere,
yeah, they
even in
advertise
Europe,
alcohol everywhere. Yeah.
even in Europe, it's full of advertising for beer.
I
and
heard
stuff.
of this event they had in Jakarta. Let's hear my own voice. It was I think like a couple of years ago or something, a big concert for teenagers in Jakarta, where cigarette companies were going there and giving young kids one cigarette at a time, like one cigarette per kid, and this is like 2 years ago, or probably still do it today. Like, it's so messed up, knowing the effect that this will have, knowing, oh, one cigarette is.
If I may
No
say,
problem.
I mean, there's so much being said in this discussion, so it is very difficult to address each one of your points. But just as you said, Theo, the most obvious thing to do is to change the environment, because every single small change you do is not going to affect the whole process. Obviously, you have to change. You have to see it in the global scale. So the only way to kind of escape, because I don't know if we can even escape of this problem, is to change the environment, and that is kind of related with kind of a change of our values, or maybe like defining our values, because obviously we don't know what is the good way of living, and we don't know what are the best values to address. But for example, you were talking about how to measure the side effects of this advertisement business. I remember two big examples of this. For example, the cigarette consumption explosion in like the 30s in the United States. The moment they started to explode this, well, obviously there is a physiological phenomenon, but also there was a really big explosion of massive media. They were using advertisements in almost everything to convince you that you needed cigarettes at that moment, and that is how they managed to change the population, like from 1% of people who consumed cigarettes to like 50%. Was incredible. Um, Obviously, at that moment, people didn't know how much cigarettes were dangerous for us. Even I think you also mentioned that discussion about how this kind of industries use the media to kind of a confirmation bias. For example, at that moment, I think they were using science studies to convince people that cigarettes were healthy or something like that. Yeah, so obviously at that moment it was difficult to escape, because you were bombarded from everywhere that cigarettes were good and healthy and whatever. Now we know
And
that
companies can pay, and they are paying for scientific research. For example, Coca-Cola may pay a research on sugar to showcase how sugar is good
sugar
for
was
you.
my second
No.
example. But yeah, again, the cool thing about this is that we know that they are problems. For example, we know that eating junk food is terrible, so that's why we know that we should avoid McDonald's and all this franchise. But that is because we know it. For the rest of the examples, we are not so sure about how much we should avoid these announcements or these companies. For example, Google, you can make a point to whether is it good or not that they know all this, that they all have this big data. We don't know what are they going to do with that. So that is more difficult. Just like you were saying, distinguish between low level advertisement and high level advertisement. We are not, for the low levels, I think it's kind of clear what is the solution is, or at least how to judge this problem and how to try to escape. But for the high level, it's really difficult. And I was going to discuss other thing that you mentioned, and I think you, Sasha, make a really good point of it about how this can change the truth. I mean, we saw it with the presidential campaign in 2016, how this fake news phenomenon kind of changed the political landscape, and that was real. I mean, there were stupid stories to shame political perception of people, and that was all because of this Facebook's campaign. We are not so well. We know that was real, but we don't know how or what is the degree of problem in the
Well,
rest of the
I
people.
can send you an article that I'm posting for the book. It was an analysis of for like several years by a research institute to see the impact of fake news, and they go from China to Russia to Europe, and you'll see, this is the link, and you'll see it's amazing. They if you want to like say something, to put a public person in a bad light, to say something bad about, you can pay companies and they are going to do that. You can pay trolls, online trolls, and they are going to to bother some projects or to try to.
You have the example of Ted Cruz from Cambridge Analytica. He
Exactly.
paid for them to change his image, and now it's a kind of a cool image in the United States, although he's a terrible person, I
Yes.
think. So,
Yeah, so you can see advertising is more than what you buy. It's what you think about the world,
yeah.
and your decisions, like from voting or
For
trusting
me,
some
that's
some
the
news.
most dangerous thing about advertisement. I mean, if you want to advertise some products or something that use your money. Just as you said, Alex, you can just close your wallet or just try to think all the try to really think what do you need and what you don't need, and that is kind of easy. I do that all the time. But when you're attacking your time or how you think or what you should believe, that is a real concern. That is a major concern because you can basically change how history is writing or how people should think, should value, should basically believe. And I don't know how to escape that problem because basically the
Yeah,
truth, you can say that basically the truth is what people believes at the end. So no,
or what others want them to believe.
yeah. So for me, that is the major problem.
Yeah, that's why it's a huge problem. That's why I don't see a solution like, okay, I can use ad blockers, I can stop trackers, I can maybe I don't buy for lots of shit that they advertise, but this is a massive problem. This is why it's just not this low level ads on TV and so forth. That's why I don't see, if we don't change this kind of game that we play and that we have to trade with each other and make profits. Just I don't see, it's like a cancer that you cannot stop.
You are pessimistic, man. Give us some light. Give us some positivity. It is a big problem. We can't change anything. Okay.
One
Well,
kind of
well, even
I
even
think I
if you
think I think there is a way. I think there is a way. If you just keep your eyes open and be careful about and like and also be aware of what's happening around you, and also tell people around you what you believe and what is good and what is not. I think that will work out. I agree with you. It is a hard situation, but it's not as
just
bad as you say.
think about cancer, for example. We don't know what the solution is. Okay, there is no solution for cancer, but we understand that it's a problem. This is the same with society. We understand that the environment is a problem. It's trade-based world. Maybe we don't have a solution, but
But the
that
thing
doesn't
is,
stop us to think big and remove the need for cancer or the need for profit.
no, the idea is the system might not change, for many years. So the best way to do
Yes.
is to find a way to live with it, not to give up and say there is no way.
No,
Use Ubuntu
you have to give up.
or what? Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. This part I agree with, but at the same time, whatever they do, whatever they promote, whatever the ads, they can't reach you until you let them. So your actions is your decision. What you do is up to you. It's not up to them. So if there is also tons of campaigns about like you should do this, this is right, this is wrong, this is what cool, this is not cool. It is up to you to decide. So keep your eyes
Yes,
open, like stay
and
aware, and
yeah, and you
which is
decide
not
and
easy.
you stay away from this, and the millions of others don't because they don't know and they vote for something or they have their heads full of crap, and it's in the same shit. You are great. You avoid those. Billions of others are not. So it's a
No,
problem.
I
It's
agree
like
with you. I agree with
veganism.
you.
It's like
Yeah,
being
but
vegan, you can not eat meat and not drink milk and whatever, but
It
the
doesn't have
industry will
much
still
impact.
really exist, yeah, even if you
but
stop.
some positivity is required. We should be optimistic, not
Of
pessimistic.
course, of course. Everything that we talk about is optimistic. This is why we write the stuff that we write and give the examples, and that's why I created from news, from videos. We make all kinds of stuff to showcase the solutions, of course. But in the long run, I don't think, as we explained, how can you escape those? How can it's not possible. Even I have many people who contact me and they say they are vegans and they say this is the solution. Well,
No, no, that's a lie.
you can remove the meat industry tomorrow, and the vegan industry is going to be as bad because they are going to put profits on top of everything, the consumption of soil and the advertising they are going to engage into. Do you think that if I have a company that sells vegan products, I'm not going to lie or exaggerate about my products? Of course I'm going to, because it's the profit motive. So in the long run, yes, I think it's great, be vegan, it's for your own health maybe, but I don't think in the long run it's going to change much. I don't see an example of that.
To be honest, I
Nice
don't
example,
think
by the way. Nice example. That's
Pablo wanted to say something for a while.
there's a lot of things that I wanted to say, but just want to address well, if you want to think in the long run, we don't even know what is going to happen in the long run. There is also some major problems that we should be concerned in the long run. So I should leave it kind of behind because I don't even think that we will see the same situation in the long run. It's probably going to change some major. It's going to experience major change in the future. As at the rate we are changing things, so it's kind of difficult to extrapolate our current situation to the long run. So I would like to address the short run or like immediate solution. Well, obviously there are no immediate solution. I'm just saying what could be used to kind of change the environment in the short term. And one of the things you were asking Hassan about how to be positive about this thing. Well, you got an example right now. Just this kind of discussion. Discuss this thing with people, open your eyes to the problems, and kind of see in the situation in which we are dealing, because there is a really big concern about responsibility. If you want to think like a irrational consumer and just go with the flow with everything, well, obviously we are screwed because most of the people are thinking like that. But as a kind of a rational consumer, because obviously rationality is, you can discuss about if whether it's any rational thing at all, but you think of us as a rational consumer, it's kind of our work or duty to try to discuss these things with the rest of the population, and present this exact problem to them, and kind of hope that they could at least open their eyes and try to change their own immediate environment. It's kind of a chain reaction. You change one people or your current environment, and they change their own environment, kind of using the same cool things about the massive media. I mean, you can use social network for the same things to change the attitude or the behavior of people in the good way. But that is only if you know what is a good way. That is another problem. What is good and what is bad, whatever. But you can do it. I mean, you can use the same tools of advertisement to change the advertisement system. I don't know if it's going to work at the end, but you can use it. That is one thing that you can use. And what is the other thing? Yeah, the thing about truth. That is my major concern right now. But that also have a good solution, and that is again to discuss these things. I mean, the problem with this manipulation of information is that you can create tribes, very divisive tribes. For example, political tribes. The vegan tribes is a really is a really good example, Theo, because I am vegan myself and I kind of hate vegans because they are so radical about their ideas. They just think, no, we have to save the animals and that is going to change the world. That is what they believe, really. And every time you try to address this thing and show them that the world is bigger than that, no, they just hide in their safe place. It's terrible. But
That's why I think we should
for that is
look at the long run, in a long run, to see what's the core problem. This is the entire TROM project, for example. What is the core problem? Because right now, I am avoiding those things. I'm doing something. I'm not just sitting here and being pissed off at Google. I'm doing something about that. But in the long run, you have to think a little bit like bigger than just trying to remove the profit motive, remove all of the human history. They try to put laws in place and rules, but in general, it's not working because everything is corrupted today. Everything is yes, there are good things, good parts, and I'm showcasing those. And the way I like to think about this is there are some people who proposed like 10 years ago, like that aging is the source of most problems. 100,000 people die every day because of aging out of 150,000, so 2/3. Okay, and aging is the source of cancer. They say the source of Alzheimer and so forth. Most of the problems, and they are pushing this idea, although we have no solution for this. But it took like 10 years for the people to accept it, and for even governments to invest into anti-aging treatments in a scientific way. Okay, so the way that I see it, advertising is like cancer. We can try to stop it, and we should, but because of aging, cancer is always going to happen, and because of our society, advertising is always going to happen, and other problems. So this is where I'm going. I know it's a very maybe weird idea and uncomfortable for many people, but so is aging, and so is even cancer. As I said, we have to try and fix it, and if we find another cause for cancer, we should, in a scientific way, we should go for that. So this is my analogy. In the long run, our society, if you boil it down, is about trade. That's why you go to work, to get something in return. You go to school, you want safety, you want products, you want services, and we trade with each other. And the biggest form of trade is money. We use money to put a value on those trades, But it can be Bitcoin, it can be direct trades with like you are from Chile, right? And you cannot come to Europe that easily. I mean, you need a visa, I suppose.
oh yeah.
You need, yes, you are, yes, but because you are in that country, you are free to walk on the streets, and maybe you have access to healthcare. In Spain, where I am, we have free access to healthcare, but it's not free. I have to trade something with them. I have to be a citizen of the Spanish tribe. I have to work for them and so forth. So everything is based to trade. My point is here that trade, it's almost like aging. It creates all of those problems, So if you don't remove this trade, this need for trade, then we cannot remove those problems. But that's my main point here. I don't know if you I'm curious to see what you think about that.
Well, I would like to say something about that, but to be honest, my main concern right now is that first, this discussion is bigger than that. I mean, it's way bigger than just advertisement, work, money, and whatever. It goes to almost like a philosophical value of what is a man, what should be the mission of a man. Well, I'm saying man, but human, obviously. It's, it's not like I
Yeah,
don't believe or I don't think your idea is good too. It's more like I don't know what is going to happen if you change the
exactly.
system.
Yeah,
It's just
no
simply
one
don't know.
knows.
I
No one
think
knows
it's
what is going to happen.
I think it's something that it should be discussed. I think it's something that your idea is so innovative, so revolutionary in some sense that it should be discussed. And I think
Exactly.
it really should be discussed because if you watch what was the video about in artificial intelligence, Sasha?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There will be a major problem when we develop artificial intelligence capable of, well, not human intelligence, because you don't need that much intelligence to replace jobs, but at some point and not that long in the future that we will need something to replace the current system, because there will be kind of useless people. There will be people that simply will not be capable to compete with machines. So I think your idea and several other ideas that I have read in kind of the news, they are necessary because our current system, it won't work. It won't work in the
Yes,
future in our current
you
system.
cannot be naive to think that the way that we live right now, we trade our skills for work and we go to school is going to be in the next 100 to 100 years. So this is why you have to have such discussions. It's not like
Yep.
we are proposing to change the world and this is the path. We are trying to engage in such discussions because this is really important. And if you don't discuss such things, then we are not even going to have a slight clue about what a work can be. Where are we heading? Because as you pointed out very very well, because we trade stuff and automation is coming,
Mhm.
most people are not going to be able to trade stuff for to get something in return, like to get a job. And what is going to happen? Who knows? But we have to discuss such things because they're important.
And you were talking about Google a lot, and you know that Google has, I think the name of the company is DeepMind, right? The
Exactly.
major company of artificial intelligence. Well,
With
they are
AlphaGo
using it
and
right now for their algorithms, but when a machine can be the man in something like Go or all those games that were supposed to be exclusive domain of humans, well, that was a red alarm or a red flag for our society. At the
and
moment
this is
when
going to
humans
happen
started to
because
work,
for those companies it's cheaper. It's cheaper to have a factory where you have machines. Machines can work with the lights out and then they don't need healthcare. They don't complain. So it's easier for them. They are going to do this. My concern is that people are coming with patches to patch this kind of system and say, let's give people a universal basic income, or let's give people let's find another way for them to trade stuff. For example, Google is going to create this self-driving cars already are created in Waymo, and they are going to offer them as a free ride, but again they are going to serve advertising. To go back to this discussion, you see, advertising is going to be even bigger because people don't have what to trade, so they are going to trade their attention. You cannot serve advertising to a robot because the robot is not going to
yep,
buy the shit that you are going to advertise. So this is going to be even bigger than today, I think.
yeah, if you expand the discussions to the whole system, yeah, it's it's really difficult to guess what is going to happen. But when you introduce artificial intelligence to the discussion, yeah, there is no doubt we have to change, or at least we have to address the problem right now. Now is the time. Now, returning to the advertisement discussion, I wanted to make a point about how to use it to improve. At least you can make a point that the easiest way to make some change in the, for for example, the health industry is to try to introduce at least some kind of, what do you say, a good model of what is the healthy food and what is the bad food. Because, for example, right now I'm not so sure how much is distributed this problem in around the society, but for example, right now in Chile we have a problem with obesity. There is a lot of people who have health problems because they basically don't know how to eat. I mean, obviously in the United States that is a major problem, and people are basically dying because they are eating trash all the day. Yeah, I know that, but right now, for example, you can make a point about how to use advertisement to introduce healthy habits or healthy behavior. And for example, you can use, what is the name of, social media, for example, to introduce these good habits. Well, you can use the same example to try to change a lot of other behaviors in which, for example, how to think, how to discuss these things. You can use social media, you can use the influence of people and the whole system that is right now installed, and try to at least address some
Yes,
not
I think
current
we should
problems.
try. Yeah. We should try, but we should also understand that this cycle is very powerful. I had a news website before TROM News, and we tried to curate good news, and then we inserted advertising, and because we're dependent on those advertising, we started to put less good news and more clickbait news. It's
Yeah.
even I who didn't want to do that. You are trapped. You have to eat, and you are trapped in the system. And I feel like any company wants to promote something that's good, and has to go in competition with other companies, and is going to go to that route.
Just like any politician will get corrupted once
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
high enough. Yeah.
I know it sounds depressing, but at least we have to recognize this. I'm not saying I
That's
have the solution, but you
have
have
to
to
do it
recognize this.
at the end. We have to do it. That's the only way we can try to get kind of a solution, or an ideal solution. We can you have to use the own media to try to improve the media. Yeah. But if you want to hear kind of a good news, I don't know if you know, you're familiar with a guy. I think his name is Nicholas Christakis.
You know.
I think he's a sociologist from Harvard. He did an experiment. It was really an hilarious experiment. He introduced kind of a bot in Twitter, and he
Mhm.
introduced a bot with, for example, a bot that kind of produce discussions with people. So kind of introduce some clickbait to people, and obviously, Twitter people will are really into discussion or want to fight with someone, and the moment they see this clickbait, they started a discussion. And he wanted to prove that you can also use the same algorithms that produce problems to create solutions. And what he did is he introduced this second bot to try to fix or solve the discussion. And the cool thing it was he managed to do it. I mean, if you do some center algorithms fix fix the, in this case it was Twitter, but you can use it in any social media. You can kind of direct the discussion to a healthy healthy way. You can manage to do it. I mean, that
Yes,
is
yes.
the point. I mean, you can
The,
use
the,
the
the idea
same.
is if you can compete with the other ones, maybe I can use advertising to promote TROM and such ideas, but other people who promote all kinds of shitty conspiracy theories that get clickbait, they are going to make lots of more money than I am, and they are going to invest back, and I have no chance. You know, Same is for any other company. There was a guy who tried to make a Fairphone, if you know about Fairphone. He tried to make a phone that is fair from the production line to the distribution, and pretty much he failed because I saw recently because you cannot control it. It's a huge chain. You cannot say we should treat workers good in this domain, but it's another domain where they are treated bad, like the extraction of resources. the promotion of Fairphone. They sold as many Fairphones in all of their time, like Apple is selling in a day or something. So it's extreme. It's impossible to compete with such. This is the frustrating part. I
I wouldn't
understand.
say that it's impossible, but I would say that it's difficult. For giving you a good example, for example, being vegan. For me, being vegan is terrible because, for example, it's more expensive than just being a random guy who eats meat or milk or whatever. Second, you lose a lot of people or a lot of influence because people basically don't want to be with the vegan guy or don't want to go with vegan. They don't care about that, and I understand them. They want you're going to lose a lot of opportunities because you have some ethics implanted in your mind, and immediately when you, for example, you can, for example, make some specific jobs that try to, I don't know, destroy the environment or kill animals. You can do that because you have some ethics, but we still do it. And that, for people like you, probably don't understand why we do it. Why would you bother to do something like that? And that is because we care about this thing. We know that it kind of lead us to a subjective or emotional gain. It's not something that you can measure with money or time. It's something that is kind of appeals to your emotions, and we still do it even if it's harder for us. I mean, in your Fairphone example, yeah, it failed the project, but you managed to convince people that in this case is an ethic solution that is way better than the rest of the other options from the system. There,
Sure. On
I can assure you
small
that there will
scale,
be some people who will buy it just because of the ethic
of
that
course, of
includes.
course. On small scale, I think yes, we can do such things. I use Linux, but just like 1 or 2% of desktop computers use Linux. So I'm not naive to say that I'm going to change the world because I'm using Linux and promoting that. I'm not going to, but I'm going to use it for me because it doesn't have ads and trackers, and then it's money free. Like I don't pay anything for it. If you want to be vegan for your own health or because you care about animals and so forth, I think is great. And but yeah, we should keep it like for short term and personal gains. I think we can do a lot. In the long run, we have to think a little bit more like in a bold way.
Absolutely, no. Oh, I totally agree with that, but I wanted to maintain those discussions separated because obviously the long run is kind of even impossible to imagine what is going to happen in the future. So I don't know if you are concerned about climate change, for example.
Of
That will be
course,
a major problem in the future too, because it will
exactly,
involve
exactly.
global discussion. And I really mean it when I say global discussion. I mean the whole the whole climate is going to change. Maybe not. It will depends on the region we are analyzing. Some regions that will be better than others, but that whole change will change the political and national
E- e- e-
landscape.
Even with that, you see how hard it is to change this world. Even if all of the scientists agree that climate change is happening and it's an urgent way to change it, to change something, it's extremely difficult to get to the people and to get
We discussed that
into
in our
politics,
previous discussion. Yeah, I don't know if
and
you
change
hear,
something.
but we talked about the prisoner's dilemma in our previous discussion, and that was the
Mhm.
reason why it was that difficult because the first one to try to change it, he, she, or whatever get lost or lose the benefits of staying in the system. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, there are lots of vested interests, and if you go to change, so many political parties are sponsored by all kinds of oil companies and so forth. And things are going to change extremely difficult.
mhm.
I'm wondering, Alex, if you have anything to say about all this, because I know you kind of disagreed with some things before.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't really disagree with what's being said. I think I like to take a sort of a critical view of this demonizing of advertising and consumerism. I think, like as mentioned before, it's advertising is a tool, marketing is a tool. It's very skilled sort of science, very well developed. So to me, I think it makes sense to try and understand how it all works, but also then to, as Hassan has been suggesting, like to try and find practical solutions, like to look at specific problems and to try and find solutions to them. Because we can sit, for hours and talk about how terrible, like give each other examples of how there's lots of terrible things in the world, and then we'll go away and nothing will really change in our life. So I think, and this is kind of one of the things, my feedback to you guys, like Tio and Sasha, that for me, the value of something like this, a movement like this, especially like a community, online community, is that it sort of becomes practical to people, and it's personal, right? That we don't just talk about generalizations, like the system and evil corporations and things like that, but like have a look sometimes at specific problems, like this particular company X, it's doing this and it's affecting me and some other people in this way, and what can we do about it? Or like if, I don't know, Pablo has some experience with a particular problem in Chile, how did people deal with that there? What was the impact, and can we use that in other places like in Australia and in Russia, whatever? So to me, like it's important to, like discussions are good, but sometimes I think it's really valuable to try and find some of those practical things to get traction. Yeah, that's kind of a bit off the topic, but.
No, it's
But I
okay.
mean, you're kind of talking about finding solutions in ways that people are trying to today to deal with issues, like save the rainforest, save the whales.
I don't know. I
Don't
think
buy a certain product.
I generally try and look at things as like a complex system, and I don't know if you talk much about systems theory or how it all works, but the world is huge, and when we talk about these problems, we can't possibly in the discussion break down everything and analyze everything in its parts. So we tend to generalize and find trends, but I think that's the problem with complex systems, is that we are so insignificant and our mental capacity is so insignificant that we can't possibly figure out how everything is working. So if we're trying to find solutions or change, the system globally, I think it'll be impossible, because we can't, we can't suddenly change everything so that the whole system changes. I think what we can do is look at how systems theory works, and one of the things that I've learned from it is emergence, right? So this idea that with lots of small different changes, they can have collectively some kind of impact that we may not even be able to predict, but then that can change the system globally or on a bigger scale. So what are these small changes? And I think that's kind of what I was talking about before. It's important in our life to, yes, to talk globally, but also then to focus on local things, on practical things, on these small changes. And like, this overused cliche, what Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So, if you want some changes, try and live them, do the small things, do the small changes in your life, tell other people about them, spread it. And I think that could work.
And this is why I tried with TROM to make this analogy that I don't know if people understand it exactly, but the same way that I think about it is, again, with aging. If aging is a source of many problems like cancer and Alzheimer, the TROM is more about aging. But of course, I'm not going to say that we should stop the research on cancer, on Alzheimer, or find solutions for those smaller issues that are a result of aging, So I'm more in that camp of thinking like bigger, because even that thing with aging was extremely like controversial 10 years ago, and now the Spanish Health Institute has like a major research into aging, and this is what I'm trying to promote with TROM that yes, advertising and profits and corruption, they are huge problems, wars, but they are all result of our trade-based system, because we trade with each other, and because we have less, we have scarce resources, and we are forced to do this. So as long as we don't address this bigger problem, we are always going to have these cancers and Alzheimer's, regardless of what solutions we find from those diseases. So this is my analogy with and again, with aging, there is no solution right now. But some people had the balls to talk about this as a problem in a scientific way, and now it's quite accepted. And that's why I'm talking about trade as the source of many problems, and advertising is just one of them. This is where the project it's leaning towards, I think. But I agree with you. I do the same as I said. I'm trying to find solutions for my life and to promote solutions locally, but think globally, you know.
You asked before about what we thought about this aging and cancer. Like, I read your book, The Money Game or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, you bring these two ideas. But like, to me, it's something, it has to be something kind of more basic, because trade is a bit of an advanced concept. To me, like, if we look at nature, nature often has a lot of solutions. Like, the way, if we can understand how nature works, we can try and understand how people work. And trade is not really, as for me at least, this is my opinion, it's not really a kind of a natural concept. So if there is a problem in our society generally, I think we have to look at more basic things, like our animal nature. You know, why are people competitive? Like, why do people have the need to, you know, dominate each other?
Because they're in the system that, right?
So you
that
think
makes them.
so you think the system makes people like that, but I think the people,
Yes.
these qualities make the system the way that it is. So it's more like, it's not really that trade is making people like this. It's just that because of the nature of people, we create these systems.
But we have like 200 million full-time volunteers around the world. You know, there are lots of people who do all kinds. Take LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, is the biggest machine ever invented by human beings. 10,000 scientists are working on it from all over the world. They don't compete with anyone. International Space Station, there is no competition. It's the International Space Station. NASA missions and ESA, the European Space Agency, they make the most advanced machines and missions, and they don't compete with each other. There is a lot of non-competition out there, and I think that proves that even if, let's say, we suppose we are competitive by nature, this can change. But I don't see any proof that we are competitive by nature. But even if we are, you know, I see a lot of examples that we can change. The open source community, the citizen scientists, there are many groups in the world, and we promote those and we talk about those quite a lot.
The competition was just an example. So, and yeah, I agree. Like, there are people who are altruistic and they're trusting, and they're not, they're caring, and, you know, lots of these what we call positive qualities. So my point is not that that's not possible, or that's not like possibly even a natural state. But what about the negative, like the destructive behaviors that cause a lot of these problems and that set up these systems? Like, well, but basic things, I mean, like things like fear, you know, like why are people afraid of each other? And to me, that comes down to like basic needs. So we all have a need for security, safety, things like this. So I think the solution might be, for me at least, somewhere in there, to look at people's basic needs and how they go about fulfilling them, and how that then how that leads to their behaviors, and how those behaviors influence the structures that are created in our society. So like kind of digging there.
We should look at the behavior inside of an environment. You cannot separate the behavior in the environment. And I think that many people will look at today's world and it's like steel. If you look at steel, the material on Earth, it's solid. but on a planet like Venus, it can be liquid. And I think the same is for people. If you look in this society, you will find a lot of competition because it's the environment that makes people competing with each other. But if you put it in a different environment, like I told you, like hundreds of millions of people who are doing lots of non-competitive work, plus competition has a lot of downsides, but this is another discussion.
Have you read Lord of the Flies? Or have you guys heard of
Yeah.
this book?
Oh,
Mhm.
Because it's an interesting debate because like ultimately this book is basically raises this issue: are human beings do they have these flawed characteristics inherent in them, or is it the environment? Possibly it's a combination of both, but yeah, check out Lord of the Flies. I'm not going to spoil it, but basically it's a bunch of boys that end up being put on a deserted island, and because they're young, like they haven't been really influenced by their environment, by their upbringing yet. But it makes a point about like human nature and what
Is
happens.
this a story or a real example?
There isn't even a chapter in The Simpsons about it. You know,
So it's an experiment or something, or it's
a
just a story.
story. Yeah,
I
Just a
think
story.
it's fiction. I think it's fiction.
Because I think there is a story called Feral Children. If you heard of Feral Children, they are in the same situation. They are raised in extreme conditions, and there is a girl called Jeannie. I talked about her in the documentary and other books. She was confined to empty room for like 11 years, and when they found her, she was nothing like what you may imagine a human being, like not competitive, not cooperative, not empathic. That shows, I think, quite clearly that the environment has massive impact on our behavior. Maybe a complete impact, but at least a massive impact.
I think
that's
it's
a good
this
example.
nature versus nurture debate. Like you hear this phrase, like what part of us, like our genes, for example, or what's responsible for our behavior inherently, and then that's nature, and then nurture is how does the environment make us the way that we are. And I think that debate is I don't know who's won it, but I think the answer is always somewhere. It's a combination.
I think considering that we don't even know what's the gene for making you tall, this is a very new branch of science. So I've read a lot about this, and I don't see there are some correlations, studies with twins and so forth, but it's basically as far as I've read it, it's the environment is that's why advertising works. To go back to this, it works because they know how to influence us. Something that works for you doesn't work for me. This is why they collect a lot of data and they want to personalize stuff, you see? Because you may say, okay, they work advertising for some people, but not for others, or maybe it's the nature, but it's not. It's the environment, I think, and they can exploit that with advertising. That's just one example.
I think I had this same discussion with Sasha previously before starting all this project. I had a problem because in all of your books, you introduce the idea about the environment, the importance of the environment in development of basically everything about humans, and that's correct. It's impossible to disagree with that because the environment does provide a kind of a state or a major influence in our behavior. But just as Alex was saying, I also talked about to Sasha about the influence of genes, and at the end we reached the conclusion because obviously this is a topic that is current discussion in all scientific fields of biology because we don't know which one is the most important. We don't know how our mind works or how our brains correlate. So it's totally new field. We don't know the
But
answer, but we cannot separate them. Genes and environment, they should be
what
treated like a whole.
But what we know for sure is that when you look at poor areas, like in the US, look at poor states, you will see higher crime, higher violence, and so forth. When you look region where people are more equal, you will see less of that. So we already know from many examples what kind of creates violent behaviors or bad
No,
behaviors.
but
So
that is the exact discussion. Correlation doesn't mean causation. That is a really good example because there is a high correlation in that we don't know which was first and which one is the most important. If it's gene cause behavior or basically an environment cause behavior, we know that
But
they
no,
are related. We simply know that.
but in the specific cases, we know for sure because there are programs like introducing better healthcare in the population or giving them more money, and they see a change. But it's not such a scientific research on genes. No one changed some genes and made people better, you know. So this is stronger.
Also,
We develop gene
from your
code.
book, the example. Oh, sorry, Pablo.
Hmm?
You were saying?
Oh yeah, you're right in the sense that environment is the easiest to change. We can change genes right now, unless we introduce gene drive technology, but that is probably in the long run. We cannot. We don't have to. We don't have to care about that. But okay, I wanted to address other problem that Alex said. You were talking about human nature, about whether we are good or bad with the Lord of Lies. That is a really good book, and I would recommend it to everyone. But that is a long discussion. I don't know if you ever hear about Hubble versus Russell.
No.
Those are two philosophers that were basically discussing the same thing about whether, for example, Hobbes was saying that human is bad for nature. Russell was saying that human is good for nature, and all dependent on the environment. I think that discussion is useless because at the end of the day, we are the ones who define what is good and what is bad. That is something that we human as conscious creatures introduces like abstract topics.
Of course,
Nature
there are
doesn't care
no
about good and
no
evil.
universal definitions of what is good or bad. I mean, if you kill 1,000 people, it's worse than killing just one.
Yeah,
I don't know,
that's
but
my
for,
that's my
for
topic.
specific examples, you can define what's good or bad.
That's
Like
my
like
argument.
crime. If you don't want more crime, you should you see that as a bad thing and you try to change it and so forth. And I'm afraid that if people push this idea of genes, they may ignore the environment, and the environment so far is very telling because
That
it's,
was
you
my
can look
point.
at different countries and you can see that the
No,
impact
that
of
was my
the
point. I
environment.
mean, you cannot separate them. You have to treat gene and environment together because right now we don't know how much one influences the other, and because environment is the easiest to change right now, we should address that one first. But
Exactly,
again,
yeah.
like, yeah,
But you know, in the book, the the money game, you note a couple of examples of in the US. I think they tried to set up these resource-based communities, but they failed, right? And I was like curious. I hadn't heard about it, so I was reading about it on Wikipedia. And apparently, the reason is like they don't really give a clear reason, but something like personal differences or something to do with the people themselves, not the actual environment or not the structure. So
You're talking
yeah,
about the movement around Buckminster Fuller and where they tried to something emerged from that. They tried to make those communities self-sustainable communities.
no, I think there was another guy, the guy who introduced the idea of like a labor rights.
Robert Owen, I think. It's the
Yeah,
guy who
that's right.
invented socialism.
Yeah, and then he set up this this community, right? Well, I think,
Yes,
and it
exactly. Yeah.
failed, right?
It's
And
fair,
so I
yes,
was
but
curious.
they
Okay,
have
why?
they,
What's
sure, we can. They had all kinds of rules. Like you had to, I think, if I remember correctly, be like a teacher, teach other people for some time. You have to be. They had all kinds of rules like that. I think those are examples of how you cannot change the world with top-down decision and say we have to have this community and you have to have those behaviors. You have to let this emerge. I think about this like the internet. You know, their idea was to connect computers, but no one could predict like Wikipedia or YouTube or whatever. So you have to put the structure there. Like let's make stuff more free for people, accessible, so you have less scarcity. But we don't know what is going to emerge. It's probably good behaviors and a community, but those people tried to tell them what they should do, you know, and they were still in the same global monetary system, so it depended. Or was this group in Israel in the same book I was talking about? Um, it was the biggest, like 1 million members. They had these self-sustainable communities, and still the biggest, and they failed. They stayed like 100 years. They managed to do that, but you are dependent on this system. I think that's where the failure is. Not the people will say, but the environment is, because the environment is very complicated. We can say that this is a self-sustainable community and they failed, but self-sustainable communities are many kinds. That's what I will say.
And maybe even if it's self-sustained, maybe it's not a stable community. That's why
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think you have to also consider that the environment is not just the immediate environment. If you
Exactly.
introduce an element to the environment, you can immediately change the environment. I think you always have a really good point about human nature. I mean, I'm an engineer, but I am really interested in biology and study animals because I am also vegan, and I am really, well, it's more difficult than that, but you can make a point about whether competition and cooperation, they are both part of human nature. We have it from like thousands or maybe even millions years ago from our primate and ancient uh, families. So probably those things are not going to live in the near future because they are kind of in our internal systems. They are part of us. But
This is the
just as you said,
evolutionary psychology
we can,
in a sense, right?
we can all this thing, all basically all this new society is so different from what nature can produce, and that is because we can produce this thing. We have the tools and the intelligence to produce it. I think, what was the video in which they say that the reason why we have reached this point is not because our strength or violence or our weapons, it's because of our intelligence. That is why we reached this point of history. That is probably what is going to lead us in the future. Or that is the thing that differentiates us between all the rest of the animals. We are capable of doing all these things, but just as you said, Alex, we are still animals. We are still aged. We still have some hidden motives. We still react to certain what was the name of certain sorry, I don't know the English word, but like we
Chemicals.
produce
Chemicals.
not chemicals, more
Or like
like,
physiological
yeah,
responses. Yeah, yeah.
we have physiological response. Um, we
But
still think, or well, my main point is that we're still animals at the end of the
sure,
day. Even
I've heard a lot about this, but I think from all I know, it's a lot of theory. Like we bring back from the past a lot of those instincts, maybe. Okay, maybe that's true, but I'm still not convinced. But maybe that's true. But regardless, I think the
no,
environment is
yeah,
still
that's
is,
the
is,
other
is still
thing.
crucial.
Regardless
And
of that,
to
we still have to keep moving. I mean,
Yeah, to wrap this, because I have to go in like 5 minutes. I would say that for today's topic, that I don't think advertising can be pushed away in this system, because it's going. Other companies are coming with new ideas, and I still think that this is a much bigger problem. That for now we can find solutions to it. We can stay away from this problem, but in the long run, we have to think a little bit more like bold, and find like a solution for aging in the sense of our society. Like this is the entire idea behind this project, and I thank you for taking your time and discussing it. It's really interesting. I tried to listen to previous discussions. I listened a bit, and I think you are doing great, and Sasha is doing a great job with this. This
yeah,
is the first time that I'm taking part in such a discussion. I'm usually writing stuff, and this is
no,
the hour where I'm out, because I work into late at night for TROM. So I will try
thank
to
you
take
for
part.
your amazing content. I mean, all the things you have said. Trust me, these things are not discussed right now in Latin America. It's impossible to find someone who has at least knowledgeable about these things. We are we're kind of trapped in the past, in Latin America, and it's kind of these things don't reach us.
All over the
It's
world.
their major concern.
Sasha may
I
know
couldn't agree
very
with you
well
more.
because she travels a lot. So I
Yeah,
think
people are
she's
trapped everywhere in their freaking tunnels. Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah,
will try
thank you so
to
much, Tio.
join.
Thanks for coming in, and thanks for everything that you're doing. Really,
And thank you.
thank you more.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. It was
Bye bye.
good to meet you.
All right. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was gonna. It's a. I guess I didn't want to ruin Tio's day, but like I think well, it could also be good to question the idea of like this cancer and aging, because um, if we eradicate aging, won't we create more problems for us, for ourselves? Because people can't um, live normally in balance with their environment now, and if people stop dying, we, what impact is that going to have on the planet?
You're talking about within this system, though.
Yeah. So that was my, when I read the book and I read that part about aging. I know he's trying to make a parallel with like that aging is this inherent problem in the system, but I don't know. So I'm a bit skeptical about that, and also the cancer thing is like you guys probably have seen The Matrix and how Agent Smith tells Neo, he says that humanity is a virus, like is like a virus. It's just replicating itself and destroying everything around it. So we also should question whether, like, if trade is this cancer and we fix the trade, are we really going to have, is everything going to be wonderful and work perfectly fine? Because
Yeah.
isn't it, could it just be even like humanity itself? Like we are.
I mean, I think the important part in that analogy is really just saying that we need to first take the first steps and acknowledge that this is the core problem. Because what the research he's talking about in aging is saying that aging is the core problem that causes other diseases, that causes Alzheimer's, that causes cancer. Same with trade. Trade is the core problem that's the cause of environmental degradation, political corruption, da da da. And the main important aspect thing here that he's talking about is not exactly that, we're going to make a perfect system, we're going to solve aging, we're going to solve all these problems, everything's going to be perfect. The main thing is to understand that this is the core problem. So now we need to at least take some steps to work towards fixing this problem. Whether we can, come up with the perfect system, like Tio said, it has to be emergent. You can't just force it. You can't force a whole new system. Even if we redesigned the entire Earth right now and made fully sustainable cities everywhere, all Jacques Fresco designs all over the world, and got rid of all those crappy cities we live in today, it's still not going to change anything if we force it upon the people that live here today. So that's what he's talking about. It has to emerge. And the first step is just acknowledging the problem, which like Pablo says, there's not enough dialogue about it right now. Nobody acknowledges trade as the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I think personally, I'm not really convinced. I don't think trade is the problem. I think it's something more kind of basic to human beings. Some kind of, yeah.
I'm also skeptic about that, but I recognize that trade is a big problem. But
Yeah.
as you said, it's more deeper than that. To be honest, I don't know if you're aware of that, but there are even theories about what is the main role of humanity or life in itself. There are theories that life in itself is just at the end is going to destroy itself. Those are theories about the origin of life. And my point about that is that it goes way deeper than that. Even if we or manages to create a society with with a solution for the trade problem or the aging problem or whatever. Just as you said, Sasha, that is not an insurance that is going to solve everything. No, it's probably going to lead to other kind of problems at the end. I don't think we're going to even reach a perfect society. I think for me those are just abstractions or I face or
Yeah, we'll
like
never reach.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
but
never
we
reach a
can.
perfect system, but we can make something better than what's going on
Yeah,
today. I like
that's the thing.
what's his name? The English actor that is really funny, and he's been talking a lot recently about all of these problems. Fuck, I forgot.
Ah,
But anyway,
Which movie?
Russell Brand.
yeah, Russell Brand.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's like, he had one clip where he's like, God, I don't even remember how it went, but he was just like, anything besides this. Let's just like move away and let's at least make some steps to make something better than all this crap that's going on now. And I think that's important. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect. Even if we solved aging and we solved all these problems, maybe we can still get hit by a car. And we'll definitely still have problems even in a trade-free world. But the thing is, just regarding that as a massive problem that because we know the environment affects human behavior, and this is why we get so much bad behavior on our world, and this is why the cause of so many problems that we have, which you can track it down and see why that's the cause. At least dealing with that, at least starting to try to deal with it, even just telling people about it is important. So even if it's not going to make a perfect society, there is no such thing as a perfect society or a solution to everything. Maybe we will kill each other. There's a big chance that we'll probably just kill each other out. But you know what? It's better to try.
It's better to do something than do nothing because
Yeah,
we know what is
exactly.
going to happen. We do nothing, right?
Yeah. What Fresco used to say.
Yeah, I remember that.
If you do nothing, I guarantee nothing will happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Well, to close the discussion, just as Theo said, advertisement. Well, first, just like I said at the beginning, advertisement for me is just a tool. How we use that tool, that is the main concern for us. And right now, there are some major problems because of advertisement. And just as Theo said, that is part of the big problem. And I totally agree with that. But my kind of easy solution is to use the same system. I mean, we can use advertisement to try to reach the population and try to improve their lives with something that is healthier or a better way of living or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think our current problem is more like a value problem, or kind of what is the good direction that we should reach. I think there is a major confusion in society because of that. But if we know, for example, that cigarette kills us and junk food and sugar are going to destroy our health, we can evade that. We can try to introduce these ideas to the public to make them stop doing that stupid thing. And the same with everything. At least if there is something that we can do, we can discuss this with people and try to convince them why they should or they shouldn't do this, for example. At least that is something we can do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the aim of my blog, really, is just to get people's attention because people like traveling. I want to explain how you can travel cheaply, and some people can make a change in their own lives and travel if they want. Hopefully it can influence some people, but also my main aim really is just to get people interested into these topics. To get people to look at TROM, to get people to and the Venus Project, and to get people to reanalyze their own reality, reanalyze their own values. Because, I mean, in order to travel around the world, you can't be affected by advertisement so much because you have to be as wise as possible with your money. You have to be as stingy as possible. You only buy what really matters, and that changes your value system a lot. And that makes you value experiences, it makes you value relationships. This is really important to people in general. whether it's about traveling or just doing what you want. Not everybody wants to travel. Some people want to sit at home and knit or whatever, or study biology or build bridges. Whatever they want to do. The important thing is to do what you want. But also to understand and analyze the actual world we live in, the problems that we have, and figure out solutions. At least try to figure out solutions for these problems. Yeah.
That's a very good wrap up.
All right, should we leave it at that?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and don't let advertisement fool you. Try not to.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, it was really great talking to you guys.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it was
thanks.
very
I enjoyed this more than my first time.
Well, we enjoyed you being here.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
Yeah, we'll be on again next Monday, I believe. Yeah, and then I'll have to change the schedule a little bit because I'm going hiking for longer periods of time.
Next topic is I remember it was something really good.
Yeah, voting, politics. You probably have a lot to
yeah.
say about that, being Aussie. Yeah.
I'm interested in it. I think it's like a crucial core issue in a lot of problems or in many countries. Like I'm really I follow what's going on in Russia and in Ukraine and Europe, in the States. So yeah, politics is and this democracy.
Yeah.
It's a big one, big topic.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Okay, so you'll be here next Monday?
Yeah. I'll do my best.
Awesome.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day, night, wherever you are.
Enjoy your week. Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, night.